Well, I don't know if everybody knows, but this recommendation of 2 meters was never based on evidence at all. And it came from a fellow 100 years ago as a suggestion. So now we know, again, some study recently has been done, now it's 3 feet. Well, they need to do the study at 2 inches and 3 feet then. So we know that doesn't work, that social distancing doesn't work. There's no evidence for it. That, again, is why the Justice Center will win that part of the argument. And as far as the lockdowns are concerned, well, I'll just make a couple of comments about that. So on January the 5th, there was an international study published in the Journal of European Clinical Investigation, and it evaluated 10 countries that had various degrees of lockdown, some none, and some little, and others with complete lockdowns. The outcome of that study, and this is recent, and I'm sure Jason hasn't seen it, and I'm sure Henshaw hasn't seen it, and if they did, they probably wouldn't understand it. But regardless, it once again indicated there was no significant evidence to justify lockdowns. So this just goes on and on. Now, I'm going to tell you how we could deal with this. And I'm not suggesting that anybody should do anything inappropriate at all. But I got to be sure, and I'm not totally sure.
Yes, we want to know.
Does everybody really want to know? All right, so I think I got the message. All right, so just, this is the only thing I wrote down because I wanted to be sure I got it exactly right. So I'm going to share with you the teachings of 2 people that you may have some recollection of. One is Martin Luther King, and the other is Mahatma Gandhi. All right, so here's what Martin Luther King said. He said, "Unjust laws are out of harmony with moral law." Let me repeat that. Unjust laws are out of harmony with moral law. He then went on to say, one has a legal and a moral responsibility. One has a legal and moral responsibility to obey just laws. And get this, and a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws. So what does this really mean at this current time? It means that all businesses, all sports, activities, everybody should obey moral law and immediately open their premises They should immediately open their premises to serve all Albertans. This is where moral law trumps legal law, if you will. Now I want to as well, I'm going to make a comment to the police. I'm glad that there are some policemen here. But what I want to do now is I want to address Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi taught us this. He taught us that civil disobedience, peaceful, I emphasize peaceful, civil disobedience can accomplish great things. And what he accomplished with civil disobedience was the freedom for India to get out from under the shackles of British rule. So how do we put this together now? Is that we have a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws, right? Mahatma Gandhi taught us peaceful civil disobedience. That means all businesses should open immediately. Now, so let me address the police. As for the police, they too should embrace their individual moral responsibility to disobey the enforcement of unjust laws.
I just want to hear Dr. Hodgekinson.
The police should disobey.
Yes! Yes! When tyranny becomes law,
They should use their individual moral authority
Yes.
and responsibility to disobey the enforcement of unjust laws. I just repeat that. Now that's one part of what can be done right now to end this oppression. But there's one other thing that y'all need to know, and this is critically important. We have here today Maxime Bernier, and Mr. Paul Hinman. And when you go to the polls, I want you to consider voting for a party that will guarantee in their constitution that they will never abrogate your inalienable freedoms and rights such as life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness, and they will never impose a lockdown, and these two gentlemen will never impose a lockdown. So, folks, that's all I have to say, but seriously, consider who you vote for. This is so important. This can never, ever happen again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Marjorie. Another speaker we are thrilled to have here today is Dr. Hodgkins. He is a pathologist with a special interest in molecular diagnostics, and I am sure he will inform you with some solid facts. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming to demonstrate your democratic rights today. My name is Dr. Roger Hodgkinson, and my presentation to you today is about the most grave injustice our society has ever experienced. I'm here because this is a defining moment in my medical career, and indeed my entire life. It's a fight for a generation. But first let me tell you why I feel qualified to address you. I say this not in any sense of being a narcissist. Just for your information, I've never frayed my degrees because I think they're a bit snotty, frankly. But I'm being denigrated by Snopes and AP, and I feel obligated to tell you about the real me. I'm a medical specialist in pathology, graduate of Cambridge University in Britain. I've had many leadership roles in medicine, both provincially and nationally, including those as a university teacher, a board examiner, and a laboratory accreditation inspector for the very college that's got its teeth in me right now. I was previously the president of the Alberta Society of Laboratory Physicians, that means pathologists, by the way, representing all the pathologists in the province. And I've been an assistant professor at the Faculty of Medicine at the U of A. But more importantly, I've also been very active in public health policy for many years as the honorary chairman of ASH, Action on Smoking and Health, which is the leading non-profit organization taking on the predatory marketing practices of big tobacco. And I'm intensely proud of that. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. And I'm not a great resetter. But I do know that I've spent my entire career in evidence-based medicine. And what I'm going to tell you today is what I would consider the truth. I'm not presenting myself as an expert in any of the fields that are relevant. They're all microscopic areas with their own experts, and I'm not. But what is desperately needed is for the general public to hear common sense from a qualified person. And I'd like to think that's me. So that's why I'm here today. I believe that the most important duty of anyone involved in public health is to protect the public from health risks that they cannot effectively manage themselves. In my opinion, during the COVID pandemic, there's been a gross intrusion of government into health matters that could have been perfectly well managed by individual adults. As was the case in recent pandemics. The degree of this government overreach has resulted in the most profound fear and unwarranted loss of personal freedoms ever witnessed in Alberta in its entire history. In essence, public health is the practice of medicine at the society level, and it should follow standard medical ethics where every act is performed for good reason. That is no different from the obligation of an individual physician to his or her patient. Society is in fact the patient of the chief medical officer of health. In medicine, the primary ethic is the Hippocratic Oath. First, do no harm. But that concept appears to have been totally ignored, as the harmful consequences are by any measure grotesquely disproportionate to any of the purported benefits. The cure is far worse than the disease. The mandated interventions should have been supported at the very least by a consensus in evidence-based medicine that they would be successful. And of course, the evidence simply does not exist. All the measures currently being undertaken, including masks, social distancing, and closures of all kinds, have no consensus for effectiveness in the medical literature against those measures. Masks are, you might say, the very face of this issue. very visible evidence of compliance. The various mandates can only be perceived as totally arbitrary, knee-jerk reactions for politicians to convince the general public that they are doing something. But politics playing medicine is a very dangerous game. And as being played out in this province, it shows no signs of abating. Politicians must get their heads around the fact that in 2021, medicine is impotent at controlling the spread of COVID-19 in the general population. The genie is out of the bottle. We must accept common sense accommodation as the only viable approach. So let me say it emphatically, nothing works to control the spread of this virus. In my opinion, and many more expert than me, the approach to this pandemic in Alberta was wrong-headed from the very inception. The Great Barrington Declaration eloquently argues that there should have been no change in public policy compared to previous epidemics. Life should not have changed one iota, except for enhanced protection of the vulnerable. The Great Barrington Declaration called that approach focused protection, and the only public health intervention that was needed. I firmly support that conclusion. Dr. Bhattacharya, an internationally esteemed epidemiologist from Stanford, has said that lockdowns are, quote, the biggest mistake ever made in public health, close quotes. Trying to protect the working well with a very low risk of death by shutting down the economy is ridiculously naive. But let's step back for a moment and consider the actual risk of death from COVID in Alberta for asymptomatic people who are feeling perfectly well. Using the government's own statistics, for the working well, those under 65, the risk of death over the whole year was 1 in 15,000. I ask you, does that warrant shutting down an economy that's already tanking? Remember too, that the strength of a public healthcare system is only as good as the strength of the underlying economy to support it. In my view, the fear and hysteria over COVID is being maintained for two principal reasons. The first driver is brutal international silencing of all counter opinions, whether from politicians, journalists, or physicians. And the second driver is asymptomatic testing, which is not only useless because of countless false positives that they refuse to reveal, but counterproductive because it drives ongoing public hysteria. Public hysteria, in turn, is being used by politicians to double down on mandates known to be ineffective. You know, if one mask isn't working, we recommend 2, or maybe next week 10. Who knows? I'm going to attribute the ongoing panic over COVID to the following litany of failures. And I ask you to bear with me because, although I may be interesting, Max is much more, and you really must stay around to hear him. First off, there's been a failure of due diligence from the very get-go based on the absurd computer modelling produced by Dr. David Ferguson of Imperial College London, UK. And by the way, this fellow was, or is, a theoretical physicist. He is not a physician or epidemiologist. He's just a mathematician. This was the most singular failure because it became the predicate for similarly exaggerated responses. Failure to inform the public that there was no consensus in the medical literature for any of the draconian restrictions so arbitrarily introduced. Failure to report to the general public the cumulative adverse consequences of the interventions on general health care, dying relatives, funerals, weddings, church services, school closures, graduations, and thousands of small business bankruptcies. I drove past the Grace Life Church this morning, it's near where I live, and I can assure you there are still 2 chain link fences still around that church. I'm only halfway through the failures, guys. Failure to halt the testing of asymptomatic people. It should stop immediately. Failure to produce detailed statistical reporting to inform the working well in lay terms about the actual degree of risk from COVID and that variants are nothing to fear. Failure to classify deaths appropriately. The vulnerable population with many comorbidities who happen to be COVID positive at the time of death are being classified as deaths directly due to COVID. That is statistical sleight of hand. Dying with COVID is not the same as dying of COVID. Failure to promote the life-saving potential of vitamin D, which is totally safe. Cheap and has overwhelming evidence of protection from COVID-19. What used to be called the season of coughs and colds is now being recognized as the season of vitamin D deficiency. In a month or so, the soon will come up again, higher in the sky, and we will all start making vitamin D in our own skins. And guess what? The panic will disappear. The pandemic will disappear. I'm sorry, not the panic. They'll keep that going forever. The pandemic will disappear, and then they'll say, see, we wrestled it to the ground. To which I respond, no such thing. It's the classic fallacy trap. Just because B follows A does not mean that A caused B. Get a grip! Failure to communicate to the general public the inadequacies of PCR testing. There are no published statistics in Alberta, or anywhere for that matter, on the percentage of false positive results by PCR-based methods. False positives, not only that, have a huge multiplier effect on contact tracing, resulting in many times that number of people being taken out of the workforce too. The internationally renowned epidemiologists who authored the Great Barrington Declaration have stated categorically that contact tracing is useless and counterproductive. Failure, just 2 more. Failure to inform the general public that the vaccines are all strictly experimental. They're totally lacking the customary 2 to 4 years adverse event trials, and therefore, in my view, by any definition, unsafe. That is a failure of the second important medical ethic, that of informed consent. There was no need for a rushed vaccine given the scale of risk. and in my opinion its use is profoundly reckless. Indeed, there are concerns about its safety for women under 50. Events already surfacing which proves the point that they are unsafe in spades. The vaccine potential, of course, has the potential of getting infinitely worse with so-called vaccine passports. Yes, they say, you can refuse the vaccine if you want, but you know what? You just won't be allowed to travel. How outrageous is that? But finally, the failure to balance the loss of freedoms against the scale of the threat. The art of government is in large part about balance. In my opinion, with COVID-19, the Alberta government got the balance badly wrong. It prioritized the containment of COVID over all else. The government's entire focus has been on one virus, ignoring all other measures of health and well-being. Furthermore, the profound loss of personal freedom resulting from the various mandates are an unforgivable assault on the essence of our humanity. And totally unwarranted given the scale of threat. This is not Ebola, this is not SARS. In fact, Sweden and Florida clearly demonstrate that draconian actions have little impact on the final toll from COVID. However, even to debate these questions is now stigmatized by government, the media, and professional colleges as irresponsible and to be resolutely suppressed. The entire population has been intimidated into compliance with the threat of outrageous fines and actual jail for disobedience. The Alberta government's encouragement of citizens to snitch on each other is utterly reprehensible. In summary, these numerous failures of the government of Alberta in the COVID pandemic have directly caused the most monstrous loss of freedoms, unwarranted fear, and horrendous personal consequences ever recorded in our province, and all without any justifiable cause. It's been said many times, show us the evidence. It doesn't exist. This must all end now, and never be allowed to happen ever again. The general public must never again have their rights so trampled on, while we are perfectly capable of managing this type of problem ourselves. Independent of any government intervention, as we have done so effectively in years gone by. So I repeat one last time for effect. Nothing works to stop the spread of this virus through society. Nothing could work, nothing did work, and nothing will work. The virus must be allowed to run its course. Government must simply accommodate to medicine's impotence and allow the public to use its abundant common sense. Thank you very much. Open up, Alberta.
Well, I think everyone here can agree that that was a breath of fresh air with no masks. Yeah! So before I introduce our next speaker, I will let everyone know that a kind gentleman has left some of these flyers here. They are human rights flyers that you can put on your small business if you choose to do so. They are just letting people know that they respect the option not to wear a mask. Our next speaker, I have not had the opportunity to meet personally, so I am very happy to be able to introduce him today and have the chance to meet with him. Our next speaker is Maxime Bernier. He is known as a dependable politician who speaks his mind, a man of ideas. His belief in personal responsibility and freedom is at the heart of his political vision. In his public statements, he's expressed those values and his unwavering commitment to reducing the size of government. Maxime is also a member of the Liberty Coalition Canada, a group of current and former elected representatives that have come together to form the End the Lockdowns National Caucus. This caucus is a non-partisan group seeking to provide formal challenges to current COVID-19 policies with a specific emphasis on ending government's use of province-wide lockdowns and stay-at-home orders. Please welcome Maxime Bernier.
Hello everybody! First of all, I want to thank you very much for being here today. It's so important for the future of our country. And I want to thank also the other politician that has the courage to be with us today, my friend Paul, the leader of the Wild Rose Independent Party. Thank you, Paul. And I'm so proud to be called and to call myself the Albertan from Quebec. Today, I would like to speak briefly about two ideas, liberty and tenacity. You are here today, like me, because you know that our freedoms are under attack. And we must defend our rights, our way of life, and our Western civilization values. Freedom is the fundamental value that draws us together. And you all know that freedom is the basic of our Western civilization. But sometimes we are taking our freedom for granted. But we are not doing that right now. And I can tell you that we may be a minority today, but there's a silent majority. They're out there. And that silent majority are looking at us. And what we are doing now is a kind of ideological revolution. We need to do that revolution because we want to keep our free society. Only in a free society is there human dignity, equality of rights, and economic prosperity. We know what made our country a great place to live. It's our freedom, our values. We believe in everything that is good for our country, and starting by individual freedom and personal responsibility. Because of these draconian governments, not only here in Alberta, but also in Quebec. Last Friday, the Premier of Quebec just said that in Montreal, if you want to be outside and walk in the street, on the streets of Montreal, you have to wear a mask. Masks are mandatory outside in Montreal. I was in Vancouver yesterday, and we did a rally like that. We had more than 350 persons with us marching to keep our freedoms, because we know that our Western civilization values are fast eroding. We need to stop that. But all together, we will reverse that. It's all about freedom and government control. But I choose freedom. Freedom.
Freedom! 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 Freedom!
Yes.
Freedom!
No more draconian lockdowns. No more stay-at-home order. No more curfew. Our businesses must be reopened. Our churches must be reopened. And our children must be able to go to school in person without masks. And I say no to a COVID-19 vaccine passport. The establishment politicians want to divide us in two kinds of citizens. The have one and have not. People who decided to have the vaccine and people who decided not to have the vaccine. But we don't want that, because we know that our fellow Canadians that decided to have a vaccine that we respect will have privileges that we don't have. They will be able to go to an hockey game, and people who decided not to have the vaccine won't be able to go to a hockey game, a baseball game, to participate in civil society. That's unfair. We're not in a communist country. I'm saying no. I'm saying no to show me your papers. I'm saying yes to our freedom, to who we are as Canadians. And you know, like me, it is never the wrong time to fight for what is right, and that's the time right now to do it. In the long history of the world, only few generations has been granted the role of defending our freedoms in its maximum hour of danger. You are that generation. This is your role, and now is the time time. We will fight for our freedoms against these authoritarian governments here in Alberta, in Ottawa, in Quebec, and all across the country. And I can tell you, we will win that battle, and you can count on me. Stay strong and free, and all together we will win. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Maxime.
Love you, Maxime.
Thank you, Maxime.
Hey.
Folks, first thing we need to do is give a big round of applause to everybody who came out here today to speak. I don't think anybody really realizes how much pressure is on these people. We're being persecuted by media. We're being persecuted by police. So what we need to do, folks, is we need to go back into our communities and we need to reach out to our authorities. We need to bridge the gap. This is up to us now. Okay? We need to find those people in our medical health care, right? We need to find our doctors and we need to find our nurses. And they want to speak out for us, okay? They're being silenced. Just like police, okay? We have police, we have AHS, we have people across the province reaching out to us daily to say that we're with you, but they're trying to be silenced, okay? That's what I'm trying to get at. So it's gonna be up to us. We have to bridge the gap. We've got to reach out and we've got to be reasonable. So once again, thank you everybody for coming out. Please don't leave any garbage behind. And one last thing, we've got a call to action. So you need to get online, go to Holding MLAs Accountable, and on Wednesday, they've got letters there on their site. On Wednesday, we're going to take those letters and we're going to stick them to the windows of every MLA's window right across the province. Folks, this is up to us. This doesn't end today. It's going to be consistent. We need to keep pushing.
You're really pretty.
Thank you very much for coming out. You've been a great crowd. Thank you, everybody.
Done here, I think. Have a good day, everyone.
Take the mic.
Okay, bye, guys. Lots of people here today.
Anybody want to go for a march?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey, good looking. What you got cooking? How about cooking something up with me?
How's it going?
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you. How many accounts are you up now?
9 accounts.
Okay, send me another invite. I'll send you photos for the last 3 days.
I'm
got
blocked.
so many
I'm blocked
amazing
now.
photos.
They
What?
won't let me start another account.
Oh, so what are you on Telegram now?
Yeah, Telegram and then Instagram.
Okay, I'm getting on there in the next few days.
Yeah, get on
we'll
there. It's a good
reconnect,
one.
and what a great event, eh?
Ah, look
Awesome.
at all the people.
Thank you for documenting it.
Yeah.
I just do stills, so I don't mess with the video.
All right, guys. This is is over now. We had some great speakers. If you want to check back, we had Dr. Hodgekinson and Maxime Bernier.
Okay, we're marching. Anybody that wants to march, let's just go do it.
Have a good day, everybody.